Well, good afternoon, Armin. Thank you for the introduction. President Steve, thank you for the invitation to join you today. I did catch Gerald's words. I will concur with everything already said about Gerald, and if he's still on, just let him know my gratitude for his words today. Also great to see our friend in the community, former Justice Sandy Marion Bryan. Thank you also for being here, and it's great to join you. And let me just say what a daunting task to be given to introduce someone who I think needs no introduction in our city, or perhaps in Texas, and if they were wise in the rest of the country. But it is an honor to introduce my friend and mentor, Phil Hardberger. As you know, Hardberger casts a long shadow as a former mayor. He's responsible, as you heard, for bringing us Phil Hardberger Park and its amazing land bridge. Clearly the most significant new San Antonio landmark of the 21st century. And I can assure you, having been given a front row seat to the occasions that paved the way for this, that it wasn't easy. No progress is without controversy and opposition. Of course, now that the park and the land bridge are in place, their creation seems to be an obvious choice to many San Antonians from across the city who take advantage of these assets. Mayor Hardberger's vision has come to reality, and I think it's something that everyone can recognize and celebrate. Mayor Hardberger also is responsible for the city's work on the museum reach of the San Antonio River, another major improvement to our city's landscape, quality of life, and appeal to visitors. And Mayor Hardberger's steady leadership helped him convince voters to relax city council term limits so members could serve a maximum of 8 years instead of 4. And he made the city proud with his compassionate work helping evacuees displaced by Hurricane Katrina. All of these things, maybe not in the moments they were done, but certainly in the years that have followed, have created catalytic generational change for our community. And it is Mayor Hardberger we can thank for that. And working with community leaders such as Bill Greehey, Mayor Hardberger brought Haven for Hope to our city. Still one of the crowning achievements in homeless services, if you ask any city in Texas or perhaps the country. The first and only San Antonio mayor elected in modern times without having first served on city council. His tenure as mayor from 2005 to 2009 was the cherry on top of an already stellar career. Hardberger is a graduate of Baylor University and Georgetown School of Law. After a successful career as a lawyer, Phil became a member of the Fourth Court of Appeals, rising to the position of Chief Justice. He also holds a master's in journalism from Columbia University and worked as a journalist in Mexico City for quite some time. Earlier, he served as an Air Force pilot, rising to the rank of captain, and he also served in the Peace Corps. And in that tenure, I like to say, was the first crossing of a path with the Nuremberg, because he served at that time, at the same time my father was stationed in Malaysia. Of course, they had much different positions and ranks, but my father was a volunteer in the Peace Corps at the time that Mayor Hardberger had leadership in the Corps. Phil is a legendary adventurer as well. He has flown a single engine across the Atlantic Ocean twice, and he climbed Mount Kilimanjaro at the ripe age of 60. It's my pleasure to introduce the man with the slow-moving West Texas drawl, but the rapid-fire mind, and that is our very own neighbor and leader and champion, Phil Hardberger. Phil?
Thank you, Ron. Those are generous remarks, so well said. I worry about whether I can go up to your standards, but thank you very much. All of that was great to hear. Can't say that I would have enjoyed hearing it from anyone more than yourself. I'm very proud of the work you've done, Ron, and you're doing a great job. As mayor, I'm happy to say I spotted you when you were a city councilman, even an aspirant city councilman, as being a real star in our community. So you have proven me right in that analysis. Also appreciate much more recently, you're getting the Alamo project moving again and down the track. We had kind of come to a standstill. I hate standstills myself. And you cut the Gordian knot and moved it forward. And now I think that project is going forward to success, and we'll all be proud recipients of the new and improved Alamo and the surrounding museums. So very proud of that. Congratulations on your last victory, which was a landslide by anybody's standards. And I'm looking forward to the next 4 years with you too.
Thank you so much, Phil. And for those watching, I've had the joy and privilege to have many conversations with Phil Hardberger. So this will be just like those, Phil. We're just gonna talk and let everybody listen. And you know, there's a lot that's gone on in the last couple of years. There's certainly a lot of ground we could cover throughout your career. And certainly Armin set the stage a little bit for a place I'd like to end up, which is the Phil Hardberger Park and the land bridge. But let's rewind a little bit and get to the moment. My first question for you is, have you been vaccinated?
I have. I've been vaccinated twice. It was a Pfizer. And if I needed to, I'll be vaccinated 2 more times.
Well, very good. We're very grateful for you and Linda and Amy and the work that you do in the community. We want to make sure that you guys are fully protected. I'm gonna go global for a minute and talk about San Antonio. There's been some obvious change over the last 20 years, and your tenure from 2005, 2009, bringing in a new city manager, really changing the political and organizational leadership under your watch during that time. Those changes, I think, have reverberated very positively for a long time. But if you could, let's go about 60,000 feet now. Since you left office, how has San Antonio changed? And if you could reflect a little bit about the things that you put in place and how that has affected things.
Well, the short answer is we are on an upward trajectory despite the problems that we've had with the COVID. And of course, we have a lot of problems with poverty. But like everything else, though, those can be overcome. They have been overcome, I believe, largely. And we are moving around on the right path. A lot of your programs, Mayor, have emphasized work development and other things that will really get at those root causes of unemployment and poverty. Those human things need to be worked on a great deal in San Antonio. But not to concentrate on the problems. The truth is we're becoming a better city every single day. We are no longer an asterisk when it comes to the list of cities. We have done some major things and are doing major things. And more now I see San Antonio cropping up in the datelines from the New York Times. I see it all the time. It's not always favorable, by the way, but most of the time it is favorable. So I think we enjoy very good press nationwide, and we are coming into our own. As far as developing our business sense and so forth, and our business community, I think there too, despite the shackles of COVID, we are definitely moving forward. I'm very happy to look at the ground that we have covered as a city and as a united city on solving the problems, but also looking forward into how we become a better place, a more human place, one that we really are proud to be members of this society, and a more unified place that ranks in the great American cities. So thank you for that question, but I'm very happy with what's happening.
Phil, I think it's apropos that Armin introduced me and Sherry provided our 4-way test. when you were mayor, we created some important international sister city linkages. We, in the same way that former Mayor Nelson Wolf had done, really seemed to embrace an international profile and look across borders for partnership that have resulted in some fairly significant economic development for our community. Can you reflect back on that work, the international work that you did? Maybe tell us a story about one of your trips and why you're proud of that aspect of your city leadership.
We must think internationally or we're being short-sighted. You no longer can be very parochial in this world. You have competition everywhere, but you also have opportunities everywhere. So when I came to be mayor, I wanted to emphasize that we were an international city, and being an international city meant more than being partners with Mexico. I'm proud of that partnership, but that's not my idea of a full international city. An international city has, as Gandhi used to say, the winds of the world blowing through the house. And that's what I was interested in. And I had visited India about 3 or 4 times actually, with the Peace Corps, and thereafter, the world's largest democracy. And I thought we should have a relationship with India. It technologically has become quite advanced. It has a lot of problems with diabetes, as we do. But it is a very exciting place. With its problems, it also has great possibilities. So I wanted to start getting a sister city with India, which we were able to accomplish with the old, they called it Madras cloth. We all know from our shorts and t-shirts growing up. But in any case, Madras is now Chennai, India, a leading city in a country that has a whole bunch of leading cities. It's a lot of people there. So I really enjoyed that trip very much, and when we signed all those official papers. I also was interested in getting something going with Germany. Though we had made some preliminary steps, hadn't really gotten where we should have until you became mayor, and of course you had been president of the whole international cities program. So you were able to bring that into fruition. And I'm also very appreciative that when those paper signings and officialdoms took place in Germany, that you invited me to come along. Then I equally enjoyed that, and I didn't really have to work much. Didn't have to make a bunch of speeches. I could just see if the German beer is as good as they said it was. It is, by the way.
Well, we enjoy those aspects of the partnership. We also enjoy the artistic exchange in addition to the educational and the economic. And one of those areas that I think people are surprised by is that sister city relationship that you consummated with Chennai, India, has now produced the largest city-sponsored Diwali festival of lights in the entire country. That's happening here in San Antonio. It's been happening for a number of years. I enjoy seeing you there on the stage every year, Phil. But you know, in that aspect, it kind of again spoke to something that I thought you did an extraordinary job in leadership of, and created some change in our community, and that is to set a foundation for the arts and cultural community. We see that throughout our city, but I want you to diagnose where we are now in terms of the arts and cultural community, our stewardship of it. If you, what advice do you have for us as a city in terms of building upon the foundation that you laid to continue to encourage the growth of arts and culture in our city and make sure that it's inclusive and that it reflects the best of San Antonio? What advice would you have for me, or for our Rotary Club members and leaders, or for the community in general?
Well, I would say we're midway to where we should be on our arts and culture in San Antonio. There's much more that needs to be done. And people that think that the arts cultural studies and like things are extraneous, something like a spare tire on a car to be used only at good times, otherwise to be shunted aside, is very, again, short-sighted, because great cities are also great art centers. They're totally connected. Just as businesses need to be creative, so does a city need to be creative. And the school for creativity is the arts. It teaches us a great deal about life, what we want, and how to get there. So it's the reason why reading fiction can sometimes teach you more than reading a factual historical novel, because it puts you in the shoes and the places of the protagonist, and you're actually in their minds. And then you learn things and you become smarter and more focused. So I would like to see much more than what we are doing. I'm proud of the fact that the Tobin Center is going and has managed to keep going all through the COVID, when theaters were closing all over the nation. We didn't, and that's something to be very proud of. Luminaria is still going, and in fact, in the park itself, there are 2 big art structures, 3 actually, and one of those is Cade Bradshaw is an alumni of Luminaria. That's where he was discovered, and that we helped him, pushed him ahead, and now he did this artwork in the park. And I see that we undervalued our artists. We undervalued them where we put them in our societal chain, and we underrate them in financial ways too. When we help the arts and we become more creative, we also are going to be making more money. It's like putting money in the bank. The more creative you are, there's no downside to being creative. So I would like to see more. Luminaria is still going, but it should be much bigger, and take it back to where it was at one time.
Well, we want to encourage everyone to go as the Tobin Center gets more packed on its calendar, to go celebrate that, as well as the fact that our bond program in 22 will continue the legacy of carving out portions of capital improvement revenue specifically to enhance projects through art. Another thing that's coming up is the potential renovation of the Sunken Garden Theater in the heart of the city into what would be a world-class outdoor art venue, performance venue. And so we encourage everyone to go learn more about that project, but that could be something that you will soon be able to vote on. Phil, a couple other questions. One of them, I think, speaks to the man that you are, and that is a humanist, I think, at heart, someone who is led with compassion. That's also a foundation of the work that we try to do in this administration. But clearly that was best displayed in your leadership through another crisis that we've known, and that is through the entire Gulf region, the response to Hurricane Katrina. Reflecting on that, and we all know the story, and we saw the images of you embracing those who were cast aside on CNN. And that spoke as well to our city as anything that has been poured by concrete before or since. But I would like for you to reflect on our response to Hurricane Katrina and tell me where you see or don't see the impacts of that response and the way we currently deal with crises in our community.
I think it was almost the birth of awareness of what we are as people. We all learned something about ourselves in that. It was selfless in nature, but it certainly paid off a lot in the way that we feel about each other. I had just been through a tough campaign. and had barely won that campaign. And there was some raw feelings in the community. I remember once after the Spurs won one of their world championships, I was invited to come out and speak to an audience that I will say had been celebrating for some time, but they booed me off the stage. They didn't want to hear from me. So I knew right then I've got some work to do here. Even though I won the election, you know, I certainly don't have the confidence of all the people of San Antonio. The hurricanes, which eventually brought us 35,000 people. We started calling them aliens at one time, and then they said that you don't call them aliens. And I said, how about refugees? No, not refugees, evacuees. But they became a part of our community, and we should have all been very proud of ourselves. I know that I was, because I saw our community knit together in the effort to help others who were very definitely down on their luck, to put it mildly. The people that came here didn't have any cars, or they'd gotten out of New Orleans. I mean, that's the base of it. Well, if you don't have any cars in today's society, you're in bad shape. And many were their homes had been taken away, no matter how humble they were. Now they're pieces of wood. And they were all broke and they were hungry. And what more basic thing to do than to feed and clothe those that are in need of food and shelter? That was my message. But what was really important is the message was heard and acted upon by the very poorest members of our community, as well as the richest people in town with the most successful businesses. From then on, I think San Antonio became a much more unified city, and I think it is today.
Well, I can certainly tell you that those moments continue to resonate throughout the halls of our offices as we respond to crises. I think particularly in the collaboration between the city and the county to ensure through this pandemic that people's basic needs were met, and that a fundamental principle be that people shouldn't lose the homes, the roof over their heads, or the food on their table simply because we've been struggling through a pandemic. I think is part of the value set that you exemplified during those moments, Phil. So we will forever thank you for displaying San Antonio's true colors in those very difficult times. I know we're going to eventually get to questions, but I want to pose one more to you, Phil, and probably one that you receive in every interview you give as a former mayor. But I would like for you to dig a little bit deeper into your answer. And because we did reflect at the opening on the significance of the Phil Hardberger land bridge, which I think is going to probably be part of your answer. But give me a couple of your proudest achievements, those that will leave a permanent legacy on San Antonio, and those that you are most proud of now, having witnessed gone from idea, from dream to reality. And I'm going to turn the floor over to you as if we just poured our last glass of wine, and I'm going to sit back and listen to a story.
Well, if Steve were to let me, I'd go on for the next hour in the answer to that. But not having an hour, I will get immediately to it. I would say the two things that have the top ranking, and then one that is honorable mention and almost is in the third rank itself. The two that I consider tied are Hardberger Park and the land bridge. Those, I think, are of great significance, will live far beyond anybody that's listening to this broadcast, much less speaking in the broadcast. I think that that was something that showed the love of San Antonians for themselves. And I think San Antonio deserves something that was great and monumental and nation building. And we got that with the park and the land bridge. Of course, none of these things are ever done by themselves. That's clear. And I had a lot of help from a lot of people in that. I do want to thank, by the way, Bruce Bugg, whom I may be listening to this. I hope that he is. Bruce gave the largest contribution through the Robert Tobin endowment that was given for the land bridge. And then there were just literally hundreds of other people that contributed to that. So that was done through the help of many people in San Antonio. And honestly, we got contributions from $10 to $1.5 million. Speaking of the unity of San Antonio, I know people say, well, we're a poor city. We're a poor city, but we can do great things. And I think we did a great thing in that. The thing, though, that ties it, in my mind, was the Riverwalk and the extension of the Riverwalk, which had existed since 1940 by Mayor Maverick the first, done through the help of FDR, our great president. But that 2 miles that was done, which is the view of the river that we see, made us millions of dollars. But for whatever reason, it was not extended. It was just 2 miles and it was a cash cow. And people identified San Antonio with it. But we didn't keep going. It didn't make any sense. So I wanted to extend that from city limit to city limit, 13 miles, and that has now been done. I finished myself while I was mayor, the museum reach. Then I got term limited out, and I just appointed the council or the group that we're going to work on the mission reach, but I was no longer going to be in control of the destiny of that. And my good friend and civic partner, Judge Nelson Wolf, said, I'll take it. I will get this finished on the south as you did it on the north. So now we have 13 miles of river frontage that people can walk up, enjoy, and so forth. That's a major step forward for the city. And it'll always be a major step forward. It cannot be superseded. The other one, though, that I am proud of, and it kind of goes all the way back to the humanitarian part of the evacuees that came in from New Orleans, and that is we have a duty as leaders to help those that need help. That is our absolute duty as leaders. Yes, we want to lead the city forward. We want to create a bigger business, more opportunities. But sometimes you have to reach down to people that are just about at the end of their wits. They may not have the health anymore. They may not have their jobs. They may not have a lot of them. And when we began the Haven for Hope to reach that lowest and most helpless at that point part of our community, we did something that I think we all can be proud of. I know I'm proud of my role in it. It would not have happened but for Bill Greehy's very substantive help on that. And I see Harvey Najum is listening to us. Harvey Najum, I believe, has been one of the biggest contributors. My guess would be he's the second largest contributor to Bill Greehy, although I don't know, he may have given as much as Bill Greehy. But we reached down and we took the neediest people in our whole society and brought them up. We've had 5,000 graduates now. A graduate means that for a year, they have finished all of our transformational programs, because it was never charity. It was teaching them or getting them back up to being productive citizens. So they went from the welfare rolls to the tax rolls. And maybe we all gained a little bit of soul while we were doing it. So I'm very, very proud of my role and the other people's role in Haven for Hope. Those would be my top three.